In 1965, rookie Mario Andretti took Indianapolis by storm, finishing the race third and handling the attention like a seasoned veteran. He was destined to become a winner. And in 1969, Andretti fulfilled his promise, winning the 500 on his fourth attempt. Hello, I'm Paul Page. Though he won only one race, Mario Andretti became one of the most easily recognized names at Indianapolis. With the ability to win on any track, on any day, in just about anything from Formula One to stocks to enduros, Mario was an international racing star. And despite his misfortunes at Indianapolis, he has become a legend at the Indy 500, a race for heroes. Born in Trieste, Italy, Mario Andretti first heard about the great spectacle of the Indianapolis 500 in 1955.
It was an unfortunate situation because it was an interrupted announcement on the radio in Italy, and that was when Bill Vukovich was killed. And that's when it first really hit me. 3
years later, Andretti was in the fourth turn stands as Jimmy Bryan won the 1958 race.
And I remember after the race, I was with my uncle Louis. We walked around, and we walked right to the middle of turn one. And I was in all these grandstands. It is a spectacle, just, you know, with nothing else happening, just looking at the facility and so on and so forth. And I said it to myself, of course, very quietly, of course, that, you know, someday I'm going to win here. It's something that crossed my mind. And you have to believe it's exactly what I said to myself.
By 1964, Mario Andretti was driving USAC Sprints when he returned to the Brickyard looking for a ride. He set up a meeting with Mickey Thompson to discuss a possible deal, but Mario backed out.
I remember that I never got out of bed the next day. Just stayed in bed, mulling this thing over, and I said, I'm not ready. It's the wrong thing. I'm not ready to do it. And I think that's the best thing I could have done for my career. Not that Mickey Thompson didn't have a good ride or such, but I wasn't ready for the job. I just wasn't ready.
Later that summer, Andretti was tire testing for Firestone when he caught the attention of two-time Indy winner Roger Ward.
Clint Bronner came to me and he says, Roger, I got this young driver and I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's having trouble getting this car around the racetrack. Maybe you could take a ride in the car and tell me if there's a problem with it. So I jumped in the car and I ran about 2 laps. And when I came in, I said, well, I'll tell you one thing. Either this is the greatest race driver in the history of the sport, or he's the bravest, dumbest kid I ever met.
Mario Andretti was ready for Indy in 1965. Driving a Dean Van Lines car, he was following in the footsteps of Bob Schweikert, Jimmy Bryan, A.J. Foyt, and Eddie Sachs. And he was a strong candidate for Rookie of the Year.
I've been dreaming about coming to this place since I was 13 years old back in Italy. That's when I started racing. And, well, now I'm here, and it certainly is a realization of a dream, and I'm qualified. Now, come race day, I'll be looking for the short way around.
Starting from inside row 2, Andretti ran strong, but Jim Clark was unbeatable, eventually putting 2 laps on the second-place driver, Parnelli Jones. Mario finished 6 seconds behind Jones to take third. Andretti won Rookie of the Year over an excellent group, including Al Unser, Gordon Johncock, and Joe Leonard. When he returned to the Speedway in 1966, Mario Andretti was the reigning national champion. During practice and qualifications, he outran everybody, setting a new 4-lap qualifying record and taking the pole position. At the start, Mario's close friend, Billy Foster, hit the outside wall, starting a 16-car pileup that stopped the race and eliminated 11 cars. On the restart, Mario took the lead. Before long, his engine was smoking, and after being black flagged twice, Andretti was out at 27 laps. Mario entered the 67 500, having won his second USAC National Championship, the Daytona 500 stock car race, and the Sebring 12-hour enduro. But on a tragic note, his friend Billy Foster had lost his life in January.
You read the book, The Right Stuff, we had that between us. And even on the racetrack, there was something there, a bond that was just, it was incredible. And him going was just left such a void that that was never filled. And I had, yes, I've been quite friendly, say, with the UNSERs, especially, you know, both Bobby and Al. We're contemporaries and of course, you know, good buddies and so on, but never really close to pal around all the time like I was with Billy. And because of that, I kept that. You know, throughout my career, even with teammates, I came very close with Ronnie Peterson. Here again, boom, it let me down. And Gunnar Nielsen also. And I says, doggone it, it's just no good. You know, it's no good for me to do that because, yes, you always have feelings. You know, if something happens to one of your competitors, one of your colleagues, you know, but when you have that intimate involvement with them, when you get really close and the friendship, then it can affect you. It does affect you. You know, the way you're driving, the way you're doing things, you think it does, or at least if you don't show it, it's inside. It's a big rock, big weight. And as I say, over the years, I've really tried to protect myself from that. And I will continue to do so. Although I do have a problem now with Michael and Jeff involved, so as you can see, it's never easy.
Andretti set new qualifying records for 1 and 4 laps and taking the pole for the second straight year. But the race did not go well. Parnelli Jones easily took the lead in his revolutionary turbine-powered car, while Mario struggled, losing his right front wheel on the 59th lap, forcing him out early for the second year in a row.
1966, 1967. Had I been lucky enough to run the distance with those cars, I truly feel I could have won 2 of the easiest championship races in my life. The car was so good, so right, and I had the field covered.
Despite the death of owner Al Dean, Mario's team was kept intact for 1968. Operating with a new name on funds from Firestone, the Andretti racing team was successful everywhere but Indy. Mario qualified for the inside of row 2, but was out after 2 laps with piston problems. In 1969, Andretti's team merged with the STP Corporation and Andy Granatelli. Driving a 4-wheel drive Lotus Ford, Andretti was fastest in practice, hitting the 172-mile-an-hour mark. But the first weekend of time trials was rained out. And the next week, Mario demolished his car, suffering flash burns to his cheeks.
I saw him hit, and I thought, oops, and then I noticed that he was okay, and I said, uh-oh, he's going to win this race because he's going to fall back to that old reliable thing that he can do so much magic with, and I wish that he was going to be in a race with that Lotus.
Driving a hurriedly prepared Bronner Hawk, Andretti qualified second. On race day, he got the jump on pole sitter A.J. Foyt to lead the first 5 laps. But A.J. soon regained the top position as Mario had problems.
I'm watching my gauges, and I'm really way hot immediately. I'm running over 220 already on the oil and water. And I had a small bottle of Gatorade, and somehow I sprung a leak, and I had this Gatorade swirling around the cockpit, and I thought, oh no, I'm already losing water.
Foyt was challenged by Andretti and Lloyd Ruby until an extremely long pit stop on lap 99 dropped him out of contention. Ruby was leading 6 laps later when he stopped for fuel and inadvertently pulled out before the fuel hose was disconnected, ripping the side out of his car. With both Foyt and Ruby out, Mario was in control, but worried.
The oil had all just carbonized. Like, you know, there was no no viscosity left in the oil. When they pulled the gears, like everything was all like dry. And I felt tremendous vibrations in the car. But then many times the thing is when you're leading and, you know, you've seen the end of the tunnel there and you figure, wow, you think everything's falling apart. So I thought half of it I was imagining, but I wasn't. And again, I shouldn't have won that race, you know, by all intents and purposes. And when you look at all the problems that I had, but there it was my day.
With a nearly 2-minute lead over Dan Gurney, Mario Andretti took the checkered flag in record time. Mario was back with Granatelli in 1970, but struggled with a new car. Starting from the 8th position, Andretti fought handling problems, but stayed in the race. Late in the day, Mario was still hanging tough when Roger McCluskey, subbing for Mel Kenyon, slid into the turn 3 wall. Several cars spun in the resulting accident, but only 2 were eliminated. To avoid the mess in turn 3, the remainder of the field was routed through the infield. Several cars suffered damage running through the grass, but Andretti's car seemed to improve. He picked up the pace and finished 6th. Mario was not happy with his position.
Not only that race, almost every other race that I've ever entered, I just never really said, oh, well, all I can hope for today is 5th, and I think if I'm riding 5th or 4th, I should be quite happy. Never, never.
In 1971, he wouldn't finish at all, dropping out on lap 12 in an accident involving Steve Krisaloff, Mel Kenyon, and Gordon Johncock. For 72, Andretti joined Bells Parnelli-Jones as a teammate to Joe Leonard and Al Unser. He was a welcome addition.
Well, Mario's a very aggressive, talented man, a man that we always laugh at him because when the green flag drops, he's going somewhere. He'll run over the top of you. But it's not that he's reckless. He's not. He runs a race car hard. If you give him an inch, he takes it, and plus. He's just a man but you can race with him, and you don't have to, you know, deep down worry about him running over you. You don't have to, but you have to watch very close because he runs hard. He runs on the ragged edge.
Andretti qualified for the middle of the 2nd row and held on to that position, running 5th late in the race when he ran out of fuel on lap 194. It would be his best race with Parnelli-Jones. The next 3 years were a true test of patience, dropping out after 4 laps in 73, 2 laps in 74, and 49 laps in 75. Andretti's efforts at Indy were not reflected in his race day performance. It was time to make a change. Mario joined one of the top teams, Roger Penske, for 1976. And though he started the race 19th, Andretti was the fastest qualifier that year. He was running 8th when the race was stopped because of rain. Still having trouble at Indy, Mario Andretti began spending more time on the Formula One circuit. In 1978, he missed time trials to compete at the Belgium Grand Prix. Mike Hiss stepped in to qualify the car, but on race day, Mario was there. Starting 33rd, he finished 12th. Andretti won the 1978 Formula One World Championship and elected to miss Indy in 79. When he returned in 1980, Mario Andretti was still with Penske, and this time, he made it to the front row, qualifying 2nd. On lap 47, Mario moved into the lead for the first time since his 1969 win. But by lap 71, he was out of the race. For 1981, Andretti joined Patrick Racing as teammate to Gordon Johncock. Under circumstances similar to 1978, Mario missed the qualifications to run Formula One. Wally Dullenbach qualified the car, and on race day, Andretti started from the middle of the last row. With several caution periods slowing the pace considerably, Mario took the lead for the first time on lap 97. He was in the lead again under the caution on lap 149. Both Andretti and Unser stopped. Returning to the track as the rest of the field drove by, UNSER passed several cars before merging into line. Andretti radioed the apparent violation into the pits while passing a couple of cars himself.
There was a big controversy over my leaving the pits one time and passing a bunch of cars on the apron, or myself being on the apron, and they're being on the racetrack. And that was another one of those things that turned out to be within the rules. It's just they forgot to write a rule about it. And so I did it. And like I told everybody later on, if I had to do it over again, as much of an edge as I had on everybody, I certainly wouldn't have passed them there. But that's only knowing that the officials weren't going to like it. What I did was a legal thing. What I did was right. It's just that they had a misinterpretation of what they thought the rules were.
No action was taken at the time, and UNSER went on to win, with Andretti taking second place. But when the official standings were released the next day, UNSER had been penalized one lap, and Mario Andretti was ruled the winner. UNSER would be reinstated to the top spot 133 days later.
It's unfortunate in the sense that the stewards or the panel that was assembled to make this judgment had to all of a sudden override the rule books of what in this instance we think the penalty is too severe and we will penalize, yes, he committed the infraction because it could not be disputed, but we will only penalize, we will fine the man, I don't know if it was $60,000 or whatever. That to me, there's no way that can ever wash, ever, ever, ever.
Following the controversy of 1981, Mario Andretti was back as strong as ever in '82. Starting from the fourth position, inside of row 2, Mario was ready to challenge for the lead. But just before the green flag fell, Kevin Cogan veered from his front row position, hitting A.J. Foyt and spinning right into Mario's path. Andretti was unable to continue at the restart and sat this one out as Gordon Johncock posted the win.
That had to be maybe the worst one to cope with for me as far as the early dropout. And mainly because I don't want not to take anything away from Gordon Johncock, but the whole month, my car, I was running quicker. I was running faster than him. And so when it push came to shove, you know, I had as good a chance or even a little better than him of winning that race if I were going to go the distance.
In 1983, Andretti joined the Newman-Haas team and struggled. After starting 11th, Mario was 4 laps down in 10th place when Johnny Parsons passed going into turn 1. Parsons spun after the pass, taking Andretti to the wall. And once again, Mario Andretti was frustrated.
It's definitely a lot easier to accept in the early years because, again, a lot of things are happening for the first time or the second time. And yes, hopefully you do look way ahead. This is, you know, well, look at my competitor here, the people I'm driving against. They've been in it for 20 years or something. Hey, I got a long way. So you don't really worry about it. Very honest with you. You just, yes, you're disappointed. Yes, you know, bird in hand, you'd like to do it while you can, but, you know, it's not as critical in your own mind as it is at this stage of my career, for instance.
Practicing for the 1984 race, Andretti was the man to beat. Suffering an electrical system malfunction on the last lap of his qualification run, Mario's speed dropped dramatically, but he still landed a spot in the second row. Running third to Rick Mears and Tom Sneva, Mario took the lead on lap 25 as the leaders made their pit stops. Andretti paced the field at record times, averaging nearly 193 miles an hour for the first 40 laps. But shortly after his second stop, Andretti slowed down with an exhaust leak. Mario continued to drop back as Mears and Sneva dominated. Coming into the pits, Andretti tangled with Jose Legarza and finally withdrew from the race. 1985 found Mario on the second row again. But by lap 16, he was in the lead. Andretti would dominate the first half of the race, leading 72 out of 100 laps. At the 110 lap mark, Mario held a solid 3.9-second lead over Danny Sullivan. Cornering below the yellow line, Sullivan was gaining ground, and on lap 119, he tried to pass Mario low in turn 1. Just as Danny got past Mario, he lost control, did a complete 360, barely missing Mario, gathered the car up, and continued on.
He didn't have me well enough before we got to the corner, so I didn't really leave him extra room, but he had a full apron to use. And I thought it would be very unlikely for him to do that because of how bumpy that area was. Could have taken both of us out, but we were both very lucky.
On lap 140, Sullivan successfully passed Mario in the exact spot as before and went on to win, with Mario taking second, 2.477 seconds back. After a disappointing 1986 in which he crashed his #1 car and dropped out early in a replacement, Mario Andretti stormed to the pole in 1987, his first at Indy in 20 years. On race day, Mario got the jump and continued to pace the field, leading 170 laps. But coming down the main straight on lap 177, Andretti slowed, but was able to continue. The next time around, he stopped to replace his spark box. One lap later, he was in the pits again, and finally, on lap 180, Mario called it a day. Al Unser took the lead for the first time 2 laps later and went on to win his 4th 500.
There was no way that I could run Mario. Mario had us all covered. You know, he had one of those days it should have been, and we all know it.
The car was just fantastic. The crews just impeccable throughout. And, you know, dropped out with, you know, 20, just a little over 20 laps to go. We had the situation well in hand. But still, I got some satisfaction out of that. Now, if I would have dropped out early that race, you said, well, at least, you know, you dropped out early and whatever, then it would have been much more of a heartbreaker, knowing that we had run a whole month quicker and so on and so forth. This way we sustained, we maintained that edge, which is not easy, believe me. And we showed it. We showed it throughout. While we were on that track, we were in control.
From his first year at Indianapolis, Mario Andretti has always been a threat to win. And though he has had his share of misfortune, he always came back, ready to challenge for the checkered flag.
If you're trying to do things differently here than what you know, it's the worst thing you could do. And that's where I think some of the people go wrong. They try that. They think, oh, when you come here, you try harder, you do this. No, you don't. You go to bed at the same time, you eat the same things, which hopefully are the right things, and I don't do anything different than what I do for any other race.
In a race where few win and fewer still become legends, Mario Andretti has made a mark. He stands as one of the legends at the Indy 500, a race for heroes.